So we got a question from Josh that I may not be able to help out with too much, but I'll try. So he says that on the mat, he's experiencing some rib injuries. They're almost healed up. There's a few positions that are a bit wonky still, but they're getting better. He says off the mat, there's a whirlwind of stuff going on. He says that off the mat, his girlfriend just left him. And he says on top of that, he recently found out his father was dying of cancer. So a lot of stuff going on there. And he says that what kind of makes this worse is Jiu-Jitsu's kind of been one of those things that kind of levels him out a little bit, right? And I think we can all agree, like when you train really hard, you get it's such a meditative quality. It just stills your mind like nothing else, right? Just quiets it. He's not able to get that right now because he's used to like lifting 4 days a week, training 6 to 7 days a week in jiu-jitsu. He even can't train at that consistency or that level anymore. And he's wondering how he should train because he's asking more for training tips and how I would deal with this. So Josh, thanks for the question. I'm going to share how I dealt with it and then how I would deal with it now. How I dealt with it because the fact that, you may know this, like my mother passed away the day I got my black belt. What you may not know is that same day that my mother, or the same week, excuse me, that my mother passed away, my girlfriend of several years left me. And she didn't tell me she was going to leave. She basically said, hey, I'm going to go visit my sister, and she left, and she was gone. Now, I know I was not fun to deal with at the time, for sure, but I didn't want her to leave. But, when she left, I played it cool. I was like, yeah, whatever, get out of here. I don't want you around anyway. But that's not how I felt. So on top of having my girlfriend leave me, and on top of having my mom pass away, all this stuff's hitting me, and it's causing a lot of stress and anxiety. I didn't know what the hell stress and anxiety really was. I thought that was like silly stuff, right? So I start going to the gym, and I'm having this pressure on my chest, and I feel like I can't breathe half the time. And I was trying to train, I was trying to push the pace, but I didn't feel like I could get a good breath. So I started to back off a little bit, and couldn't get that really intense feeling of training that I wanted. So I started taking some allergy medicine, right? It's like allergy medicine. Okay, maybe I'm having allergies because it was, in the summer or something. I don't know. So I started taking the allergy medicine. Didn't help. Right? Still have that pressure in my feeling. And I remember one day where I was so upset about it because I have all this anxiety, all this like sadness going on in my life. I can't cope with it because I don't want to feel it. And I want to do the jiu-jitsu really hard so I can just numb it, right? Numb my body to the pain. And so I was like, fuck it. You know what? If there's something wrong with my heart, this little pressure in my chest that I have, whatever, then I'll die right here. I'll die doing jiu-jitsu, and I'm fine with that. Fuck it. So I started training really hard that day, push the pace. Felt fine, but then afterwards, I'm still having the damn feeling. So I eventually went to one of my students who was a doctor, and I was like, hey man, can you look at this? And after some questioning, some basic stuff, he said, man, look, you're stressed out. Like you got a lot of stress in your life. You're having a little bit of anxiety. You need to lay off the caffeine a bit. You're just stressed. You need to relax. You're fine. So I was like, okay, felt okay, right? So I started training, and I started to train as hard as humanly possible. So you're talking about right now where you're going through this stuff and you can't use jiu-jitsu and lifting as your numbing agent, right? That's what I did, right? So for a long time, I prolonged this whole situation, all this nastiness that was going on in my life with my girlfriend, my mom, and everything else. I prolonged it because what I did is I had a key to the gym, obviously, and so I would come to the gym at all hours. I would train really hard during the day, and I would go home and go to sleep. And sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night. It'd be at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would have all these negative thoughts racing through my head, right? Because I would have a dream or something about everything that'd wake me up. Instead of like trying to go back to sleep or anything like that, I would just get up and come back to the gym, and I'd start lifting weights really, really hard. And then I would just sometimes be so exhausted afterwards, after lifting, that I would just go down to the mat. I would just sleep on the mat somewhere and just like on a gi and just fall asleep there. Then get back up and train again in the morning. I was like a drug addict for jiu-jitsu or training. I was just trying not to feel something. And because of that, what happened was I did not feel anything, and randomly, whenever like I guess the endorphins or sort of the happy feelings I would get from training would wear off, randomly I would have these just explosions of emotion where all of a sudden I would remember that my mom was gone. I would be in random places. I remember being in like just like a public setting, and all of a sudden I'm getting teary-eyed. I'm like, fuck, it's happening now, right? Because I wasn't dealing with the problem. So I eventually decided, you know what, I need to just take some time off and just get away from everyone, right? Because it was going on for a long time. So I took a week off, little vacation, just sort of dealt with it, right? And part of that's where if you guys watched one of the videos, the little ritual with my mother, that's where that came from. It's like I have to find some way to cope with this because I can't. It's stuck there. So that's how I dealt with it back then. Not the best way. I was using jiu-jitsu and training as just like a numbing agent, and basically became addicted to a drug, just kind of like that, right? It's like someone popping pills because they don't want to feel anything. It was like that. So I would tell you that you don't want to do that. too much, right? First off, you were training 6-7 days a week at jiu-jitsu and lifting 4 days a week. You're probably training too much, man. Like that's probably why your rib got injured, right? A lot of times injuries tell us things about ourselves, right? Like back when I was like tore my meniscus, I was having an imbalance with my quad and my hamstrings and everything else, and it caused this shearing motion, right? Once I loosened up my damn legs, I don't ever have any knee issues right now. But because I was having these issues with strength and tightness in different places, it created a lot of problems. Now, you have to take the lesson there, right? So with your rib being popped out or getting injured, it's telling you something, man. Like you said, you were inverting and doing all this stuff. Maybe you need to stop inverting so much. Maybe you need to stop lifting so much. Maybe you got to train a little less jiu-jitsu and back off a little bit. Let your body heal, right? Because if it doesn't get time to heal, something's going to break down eventually, man. There's no question about it. Your body's a machine, and if you wear that machine down and you never give it a good chance to heal, if you never give it the chance to just rest, it's going to break down. So I would tell you to not go back to that training sort of regimen that you had previously, right? Give yourself some days of rest, okay? And instead of like trying to ramp back up, to that situation, because otherwise what's probably gonna happen is you're just gonna get re-injured again, okay? And also with that, don't try to use jiu-jitsu as, use it to help cope with everything, because obviously it's wonderful for that, but don't use it like I did and just use it to numb everything. Like every time you feel something, you wanna just go train balls to the wall so you don't feel anything at all. You gotta deal with it, man. And I would tell you just from experience, say whatever you got to say to your dad, because if he's passing away, say whatever you got to say now. Get everything out on the table to him. Tell him everything that you want to tell him, whatever it is. Whatever's deep down inside of you that you want to say to your dad, say it. Get it out. Just do it. Get it out of there. Don't leave it in. You'll regret it. But coming back to training, what I would say is focus on what doesn't hurt, right? Like one of the things that happens with us with training is we become attached to the way things are, right? When things are going well, when things are good, we become very possessive of them, right? I want to hang on to this forever. Right? If we got a great group of guys training in the gym, it becomes our crew. We want to keep that crew together. And then all of a sudden, guys start, leaving because maybe they got to go to different places for work. Maybe their schedules change, whatever. And then, we get disrupted and it's like, where is everybody? Like the crew's gone, right? Even though there's other people there, you kind of get upset about it. With our training schedules, like, this is the best training schedule. It's going great, right? I feel great. And then we become very attached to it. And then once something disrupts that, we get really down and out about it. And so for you were used to this training schedule that seemed to be working for you. You become very attached, become very possessive. The thing is, man, nothing's going to stay the same. Everything's always going to change. And you got to be ready to go with that change. I know this, I don't know if this is helpful to you or not, but, when you feel these things doing this, just go with them. Don't try to go back to what it was, right? Maybe you can, but instead sort of see where it goes. Like just follow, just go with the flow a little bit instead of trying to fight against it. So your body got injured, right? It's probably telling you something, okay? So with your training now, let's lighten up a little bit. And with your training, you're asking what to do. Just focus on whatever doesn't hurt and do some guard passing, do some stuff that, no inverting, no takedowns, because your ribs are going to get jacked up. And find some people that you can roll with in a flowy manner that can ease you back into a reasonable sort of level of training at a reasonable pace over time slowly. So I don't know if this video is helpful to you, man. Because again, I focused on a lot of other stuff other than the actual training itself. But hopefully something in this is useful to you, Josh. And good luck with everything, brother.